Well, hello. Have you been frustrated or stressed out trying to figure out how to wood burn a bouquet background? Well, we're going to give it a try. Welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, joined with hubby
Okay.
and fur babies.
Woof woof.
Woof woof.
Woof.
And today we are doing the bokeh background. Now, what is bokeh? Bokeh is just basically, it's a Japanese term about a background where there's light spots that are blurry. That is what the official definition is. I learned that this morning. So we are going to get started with that. What you'll see on the board, I've already started. And it's going to start off dark, and so I'm going to have a gradient going up, so the top is lighter, with the bokeh thing going on. So last week I showed, let me find it. Alrighty. This is what I showed you last week of my test that I did on my tablet in Autodesk Sketchbook. Yes, there we go. A free app for phone, tablet, and I believe PC. And so this is what I'm going for. So what I did was last week, or the week before, I went around and I had a couple of templates, circle templates, and I put in different sizes and overlapping so I can have that laid out because I want my circles to be as circly as possible. And then I also purchased, and this is actually pretty thin, I believe it was listed as 1/8 of an inch steel. It's used normally to cut leather, but for our purposes, it works. And it should be able to take the heat. Now, when I purchased it, when I got it, I got it off on Amazon, so I have that link down in the description. I wiped this down with denatured alcohol because when they cut metal, they have to use some oil to keep from any kind of stress happening to the metal as it's being cut. So you can see this is the paper towel I used. You may not be able to see it because it's bright, but you can see some of the oil that came off. I didn't want this transferred to the wood, so that's why I cleaned it. If you don't have denatured alcohol, you can use isopropyl alcohol because this isn't for the, you're not using it on your wood. So it's okay if there's more water in the alcohol to wipe this off and clean this off. What I haven't done with this yet is to actually use it burning with it. What I could do is I could actually probably flip over my board just so we can test it and see if it works that way. If not, it's still good for a template. Hey Spence, Sheila, Wanda, hello. So I spent about 2 hours working on this. Now, with bokeh or doing this background, you have to pick out what is going to be closest to the person and what's going to be further from the person based on how I was viewing. Now, this is just an example, but I wanted to be able to show it. The brighter lights are closer, and then it fades off. So even if the light is bigger or smaller, because it's further away, it isn't as bright. So that's what I have to keep in mind with this. And it doesn't matter the size of the circle. I just have to decide, especially where I have a group, what do I want closer to the viewer and what do I want to have further. And where they overlap, which this example is not exactly the best on that, but where they overlap and what I'm doing, it's lighter, even for the back circle. So I have to pay attention to that. I have not touched this shirt or the sleeve on burning. I finished blocking in the hair and then I started on the background. But you can already see how much just this background has popped out that sleeve and made it look white, and that's what we wanted. So I'm going to get started with the 18 small spear shader. So you want a smaller spear shader, and we are going to actually work on going dark to light. So I'm going to start on this side, that's why I left it. And we are going to start at 2.5. And we're going to get going. Let's zoom in. Let me take that reference off because we don't need it. Alrighty. So let's zoom it in. Remember, the color of the wood is going to change depending on how close I am because the light is it's hitting the wood and then the light is bouncing into the camera, into your eyes. I probably screwed up some people right there. And so it changes the color. That's why I try to start back off so you can see it a little better. So I'm at 2.5. I want a medium to dark background. And because this area is not burned, it is going to burn darker. So I need to make sure I start down in the corner. You see, even though this is 2.5, and I'm just using the tip, make sure I'm on screen. I'm going to zoom it in because we know I travel across the camera. And I'm just making little circles. And at 2.5, we can see how dark that's burning. Granted, that's how this pin is made. If you have a different kind, you're going to have to play with it a little bit. So I'm just going to put in. I can turn up my heat and go with bigger circles, but I'm trying to match the other side. So I have to pay a little closer attention to that. Oval strokes, I would say, are one of my favorite ones. And that is because I started with graphite first. So with graphite, you will do this stroke in order to get the graphite into the tooth of the paper. So it's just a habit that has carried over into burning. So just, and see, it doesn't look as dark. Let me see if backing out. It doesn't look as dark on camera because I have to have things lightened up so you guys can see, but it is darker in person.
Yes.
And these oval strokes also help for me to get in between the grains, the bigger grains where things stand out, so where we see more of the grain, it allows me to get in between. I tried using the spoon shader, but I found I had more success with my spear shaders. That I liked it better. And with the spear shaders, I can make the circle look like a circle. So I'm going to get that in. Because we're on live, I'm actually going to bump up to 3 and try to go a little faster because we need to get up to here. What I didn't put down here is another circle. With the circles, I had to lower my heat. We could put a circle in there. I don't think that'll cause a problem. Let's see. Do I want to try using the steel template or do it the way I've been doing it? Questions.
Why don't you test it?
Actually, I'm going to do the way I've been doing it just because on this piece I already feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
So I'm just going to pick a size, any size. This is the hand, so it's going to be lighter. And I need the circle to be darker so that it works. And now I'm going to have a frame, and that frame's going to sit at least 1/8 of an inch into the burning, so I think we shall put one here. Gotta find my pencil. There we go. So I've got a little burn there, so I'm going to move it over. I did list a clear template like this, and the steel down in the description. Alrighty, so there we go. Now this is going to be a darker one just so it kind of matches the background. Do I need some other? I don't think I need it. And this is where it can get confusing. So we have to, I think I'm going to go with a bit of overlap of another one, making it smaller. So I'll get that in there. There we go. So So now I can work up to that. Touch down in an area I've already burned because I know my heat is up. I'm going to go right up to that graphite line. I'm going to have to blend this out to make that blurriness. But since we did that, I'm going to go bump back down to 2.5. Because that one a little dark right there, so I'll have to blend this in. Go right up to the sleeve. Or the back. Nope, that's the sleeve. See, this went pretty dark even at 2.5. So I'm going to have to do some adjusting on the other side just to keep it a little balanced. So all this is going to be dark because I'm not going to start lightening up until I'm further up. And then I was erasing the circle once I started having it in there. So I'll have to smooth this out, which means I need to spend time. And what I was doing was using this tip at a lower temperature to blend. Alright, so we can see how this is actually a little darker. So I'll have to darken this area up. So I'm going to bump down to 2 just so I have a little bit more control. I got my reference photos still on the board. Touch down in an area I've already burned just to pull a little heat for a second from the pen. Then I need to follow, because I haven't blocked in this hand, the graphite. Right now I'm more tip than anything else. And I'm really going to have to flip this board a lot to get the angle that I want that makes it easier so I'm not burning over other areas. So remember, it's always easier to turn your wood than to stand on your head.
I heard that before.
Somewhere. Alright. It's right up against the circle line. Small stroke. Sorry, my ring is... There we go. Hate when that happens. My ring stabs me. So I see my graphite line for the hand. So I'm going to go right up against it. So now it looks like I've outlined. I have to blend that out. Basically, I'm cutting into that line, or up against that line. There we go. So I don't lose it.
Bro, sir.
Hey, bro. Once I've burned a little bit more of this area, I'll actually bump up the heat just to darken it. But for right now, what we're doing, we're good. Flip it back around. Again, so I can get up against the hand. And darken up. Blending out into where I've already burned so I can smooth it. For this particular burning, I'm actually happy with the choice that I made in doing this. I've never done a background like this, but I didn't want an overly busy background, and I didn't want a flat one. And what I mean by flat is just the same tonal value throughout. I felt like that would be too much. Alrighty, so now we have to decide, do I want the little circle to be the brighter circle, or do I want a smaller, right? Is that what I said? Smaller? Yeah.
One has a question, but I'm not sure what she means. She says, in face-to-face, can you see your ovals? Oh, okay. So she's saying on the screen it doesn't look like you can see your... Yeah, in life, yes, she can see the ovals. Wait a minute. Can you see your ovals?
You mean the circle lines that I have on the board?
The circle lines or the pen strokes, I guess.
I can see why he's having that problem. Let me adjust the camera because
Okay.
it is a bit blurry and I don't know why. Maybe because maybe I need to back off the camera and zoom in so it's not as blurry. We'll try this. Then I also need to bump down the brightness. There we go. Is that making it a little easier?
Well, I'll see when it...
Small ovals used to make darker. Oh, you can see a little bit, but I'll blend them out more. I think that's what he means, the stroke itself. Can you see?
I don't really think so, right? Because you're just kind of like doing the oval technique and then it just kind of spreads evenly.
Yeah, it just blends out.
It's more instinctive. And Wanda says, okay, yes, thank you.
Okay.
So somehow you answered her question.
Hey, as long as we get there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now to decide. See, that still looks blurry, and I don't know why. I don't know. I don't have autofocus on. Let me do this. I'm checking. Maybe this will help a little bit. There we go. Not blurry. Look at that. We can do it. We can do it. I'm making it cut down the sharpness as well.
She says yes because mine are always visible.
Yeah, you have to keep working them to blend them out. Alright. There we go. So now you can see, because I adjusted, I will work these out where I've done it over here. Yeah, you can see them. But as a whole, because in general, when somebody who's not me is looking at a wood burning, they're not looking at a wood burning like this. Again, caveat, me, you're further away and it all blends together. But I do need to work on it a little bit and smooth it out some more. Okay, so I think, see back here I did the bigger circle, darker. So I think I'm going to go darker with the little circle and lighter with the big circle. I'm actually going to bump down to 1.5 because I want a lighter burning. I'm going to touch down in a dark area. And then I'm going to go into the circle. And I'm following, because this one's lighter. Excuse me. I probably just spray my throat. I am going over the graphite, but I'll be able to erase in a minute. Alright. That's going to go darker, but it's in so that I can work on. I lifted my pen, so that's why I'm back in the dark area while I'm talking. Alright. Let's see here. Touching down, moving. And I'm moving quickly. I didn't adjust my heat. Now I don't want this super bright because it is a background. Alright, got the main circle in. Now I can see this goes darker. Just to push it back further. So I can darken this just a tad. And now I'm about to erase my graphite. Hopefully I'm on camera. Ooh, that's a lot orangier than what it actually is. I need to cut down. There we go. That's a little better. Touch down out of place because I put my pen down. So it recovered all the heat. And now where they overlap, I am going to burn that, but it's going to be lighter than all three areas. So this needs to go darker. Let's go ahead and erase, because I have the circles in, so I feel comfortable erasing. When you erase, it does pull some of the burn. You'll see it a little bit on your eraser. Not a big deal. This is just the very, very top carbon. There we go. And now, give me 2 seconds, please. I forgot to spray. Okay, that should help. So now I can see what's going on. So I'm going to darken this one along that lighter area, not over it, but I do need to darken it. And I am crossing over into the dark to try to make sure I don't have too much of a halo, because then we start looking like a bubble. And there was a couple of times I had to do a little sanding and reshape my circle. So this one needs to go darker. Still at 1.5. But because of how dark the background is, I can go darker. Go back into this one. I need to tighten up some of the lines. And push this back. And see, well, actually, I think what I've done is I've accidentally overlapped this one on top of this one. So let me think for a second, and I'm going to fix that. And this is where it can get a little confusing. So I'm going to push that one back. Let's see. But I want this one lighter because it's next to the shirt, and that area of the shirt is darker. So it allows some of that contrast. In a minute, we'll back off the camera so we can see it in its entirety. So these are decisions you're going to have to make on the fly, depending on what's next to it, meaning if it's close to your subject, how you want it to look. And I can keep adjusting, but let's back off so we can see, and the fact that I'm off camera. There we go. Oh, I gotta remember I'm zoomed. I'm zoomed. Unzoom it. And now we can see it's blurry. That'll be easier. But now I also see this side is darker than this side, so I'll have to darken up along here. Not a big deal. We're definitely going to be going back and forth, or I will be. So this line needs to be, even though it's blurry, needs to be a little more.
One that says looking great.
Thank you.
It is a cool effect, that putting those circles in.
And because we're burning lighter, we can always adjust them. Yeah. Once everything's in, I may have to go darker in order for it to read the way I want to, but I have that room to adjust. Now, there we go. Now it looks more like that smaller one is in the background versus I saw the line that I put right there. So I'm just going to blend out that line. And then it makes this circle look like it's in the front. Alright, so let's move up. Do you guys want me to continue going the dark? Because the dark definitely needs to be darker over here. But it goes right about to these circles before I start lightening up. Although, let's look at that photo I created. Because this allows me to see. Okay, so on this photo here, I went higher up for the darker, right about here, in order to capture the lightness of his hair. So, alright. And that's why if you have the ability, meaning a tablet or a PC, in which you can take your burning and do these adjustments, it definitely helps. Alright, I'm going to adjust the camera like this a little bit. And we're going to flip. I can use the extra small, but this one, this small for me had a better feel as I was doing it. I also found there were times where I inadvertently started making circles in the background, but it's so light, but it goes with it. So I'm actually probably going to keep those. Just define them a little bit more. So I've bumped up to 2.5. Right up against her arm. Hand. Cut that in. Blend this line out so it doesn't look outlined.
Layla, go lay down next to Roxy.
And then her shirt right here is white.
Lay down next to Roxy.
So we do need...
No. Don't lick.
That dark, so I'm just going to cut it in real quick and start bringing it together.
Lay down.
And I can feel that the wood's burning slightly different. So I'm going to slow down. And remember, when I'm talking about oval strokes, the best way I can explain it is thinking, I'll do it here. Center of a flower, blending out like you're creating a petal. Granted, you're not defining any petals. It's just blending it out and growing it. And then I can go back the opposite way. Bring these lines together. What I'm doing is blending. And it does help to hide some of the stroke. I lift it off to readjust, so touch down in a dark area. I can also, the grain is going up and down. I can follow the grain. Using the same oval strokes, but going up and down instead of in a circle to help blend out. And where, because this area is burned darker, just move a little bit and then I'll zoom you guys in so hopefully it's easier to see. You know, maybe I need to give you this and then zoom is at the top so you can go in and out.
Okay, well let me know what I need.
That way I can just keep burning.
Let me know what I need to do.
Well, whatever you think looks good.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm touching down in the dark area, using the oval strokes to blend out those darker areas. And like I said, lower heat will actually blend better. Higher heat will do it faster, but then you have to worry about going too dark If this was a solid background, I would probably be doing more drag strokes than ovals. I would do the drag stroke and then oval strokes to blend. Because there's always going to be an area of the grain that burns darker. It's just always going to happen. But we can blend those out. Just smoothing down my wood. Because that's what the lower heat does, is it actually, because sometimes you'll feel like some of the grain raise, and that's because it's raising because of the heat. That's the wood's natural reaction. So we can use our pen flat and use it to kind of iron. I guess that's the best way to kind of iron the grain down. Smooth it out, make it more equal to neighboring grain, which helps to blend it. These are all like micro strokes that honestly most of the time I'm not even thinking about. So now it is smoother. So we have a circle. We'll focus on this circle right here by his head because we're dealing with lighter hair, a white arm that does have shading on it that I haven't put in. So we have these to help push out, and I think that will give us our best illustration of that. See, you can see this grain burned darker than that grain. Let me pull it in just, and so we're going to have to blend that out. Going with the grain next to it. And see, that one gets darkened. We don't need to fight, well, with a good piece of wood. We shouldn't have to fight with a good piece of wood. Woods do have different grades. So the lower the grade, the cheaper the wood. And if you find you're fighting your wood a lot, that could be an issue. That could be why. Especially if you've done other burnings and didn't have that issue on a different kind of wood of the same species. The little strokes right up against the circle. So here, because we're up against these light areas, the bigger circle, let's see here. These circles are going to have to go darker with this one lighter on top, just so we can use the darks to balance and pop out here. Now right here we do have a dark area. I'm actually going to do that area when I've lowered my temperature, just so I have a little bit more control in the smaller area. So I'm flat, doing ovals. Trying to smooth out any burn lines. Turn my wood. Got a little blob there. Not even worry about it because I'll blend it out. Is it on? Okay. Again, I know my wood, I travel. I get closer and closer till my eyes get blurry. And then I have to try to look up and look away so I can refocus my eyes. Alright, we have some dark. That's mainly what I wanted, was some dark around these circles. Now I'm going to have to do a gradient coming up. So I don't necessarily want this area as dark as what I'm doing down here. Just so I can adjust. So I'm going to bump my heat down to 1.5 because again I'm going into a small area, so I'm going to just use my tip to get in here.
Wanda wants to know you leaning in further and further is called getting into your work.
You know, it feels like that. I just stop paying attention and just
Excuse me.
but you know what? I like that. Getting into my work. Alright, so I'm trying to make little strokes. I forgot he's got some hair, and I kind of cut that off. Turning the board. See, the color is still off, but I actually ordered some new blackout curtains, and we're going to give those a try and see if I can readjust my lights so we're closer in actual. Alrighty, so now we've got our dark, and have to decide. So I said I wanted that lighter. Based on the white of the shirt being lighter than his hair, I think this circle needs to go darker. A little lighter, and then the lightest.
Yeah, Wanda, it's starting to melt, but we still got, I don't know, close to a foot on the ground in a lot of places, and there's still a lot of snow by the sides of the roads where the berms have piled up due to plowing. I'm sure there's a ton of it on the mountain.
Alrighty, here we go.
Oh, because Wanda says that they might be coming up before it melts.
Oh, cool. It's going fast. We heated up this weekend.
Yeah.
Alrighty, here we go. So I need this darker because the shirt is white. So right up against. I do not need all of these to be bright. Following the graphite of her arm. Smooth it out. I feel like I've kind of lost the circle here.
Wanda says that her husband's trying to get her to the snow ever since they left Germany.
Oh. Well, hopefully it'll be a nice, peaceful, and safe trip. Alright. So we can stop there for a minute. I think that line right there is what's throwing off the circle. We will fix it. So this one still needs to be dark. So right up against that graphite. I have not adjusted my heat. Because right now I can control my heat based on what part of the tip I'm using and how fast I'm moving it. So let's get this in. And the main reason I'm working on these is I really want you to see the contrast. Touch down in a darker area. Blend it out. See, right now these two are about the same tonal value. So based on what I'm wanting it to look like, I need to darken this bottom one. So I'm going to slow down. I'm using the top half of the tip so that I can have more control and to smooth out the burn as I go. Layla's looking at my chair again. He is such a looker. Alright, so this is darkened up a bit. We know this top circle is the main circle, so I'm going to go lighter. Sorry, this is definitely a lot of flipping. And these areas are lighter. Now I see I need to darken. So I'm using more of the top half of the tip, like angled more this way. So it is just a case of going back and forth. And I think that dark right there is what is kind of screwing up the circle that I'm seeing. Because I do, for me, I do want this more circular than oval. You could do oval. You could do different shapes. As long as you kept it consistent, you could use triangles if you wanted to. Just keep it consistent. I'll darken this area as a whole. I'm just trying to lighten up where I kind of went in a little too far with the dark.
I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Alright. See, if I was doing a bubble, I would keep going lighter on the outer edge. But I'm not doing a bubble, so flat, just darken where I've burnt, or there we go. Still feel this one needs to go darker. So let's do some erasing so we can see what we got. And this whole board is going to be wiped down once I have everything blocked in. Flip it around. Ah, he took my mouse. He took my mouse. Okay. We're going to zoom out. And see how this has lightened his hair. It has lightened the shirt. The hair does need some more detailing, but just adding this dark, even with the bokeh effect, has lightened things up. Let's back it out. There we go. That's a closer color. Let's straighten out my camera. There we go. So just doing that, look how much this is lightened up. Just having the dark next to it. We can see this area right here needs to go darker like this, but I'm not going to stress out about it. So here I've started going the lighter route. And I'm going to flip it. I'm going to actually keep my temperature at the 1.5. I've been, for the lighter areas and lighter lights, I've been between 1 and 2. Not any higher than that. I've been able to keep it at these lower temperatures. So I'm going to touch down where I've burned, moving quickly just to pull the heat. I do feel that this is going to have to go a little darker just to have that right gradient. And see, we see a little bit of a halo, and that's because I'm going up against the graphite. When I erase the graphite, I can fill in that halo. So I'm not going to overly stress about it. Zoom you guys in instead of moving the camera, so hopefully just makes it easier and I don't get you guys dizzy. So right up against the shirt. This area does need to go darker, and I'm going to have to darken this whole shirt and smooth it out a bit. Meaning, right now it looks really, really, really wrinkledy, and I'm going to have to add some more tones so it's not as wrinkly looking. Okay. So here I have to decide. I've got 3 circles, so I have to decide light, and we'll say light and dark, even though it's lighter here. So we've got dark hair, we've got the lighter background. In doing the dark of whichever is the furthest, it needs to be that, we're going to call it bubbles, but it's not bubbles. So that bubble is going to have to be equal to, or actually a little lighter than what the background is. So if I make the background a little darker here, I have room on how dark I can go on any one bubble. Circle. Maybe circle would be less confusing for everybody. Alright. So I can't go darker than the background. I think I'm going to make the lightest one where her hair is, because the hair is darker. So in this, it is a little bit more forgiving than a solid background, just because you have a little bit more room. So we can see the background does need to go a bit darker. Alright, so now this one, see, I ended up doing that one as dark as the background, so this tells me I have to adjust the background. So I will blend it out and darken the whole area, not just this one spot, because then it's not going to look right. So I know the background needs to be a little darker than that circle. Then I also have to remember to give myself some grace and be okay. So we know in the hair area, I'm just going to touch down. If this is the lightest one, so I'm moving very quickly. So that means this area goes light. So I have to work back and forth.
Go. Come on.
So I think in order for this to work, I need to be about that tonal value. So I'm actually going to bump up just a bit so we can move quicker. And then I'll erase the graphite so we can adjust.
Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Get down, down.
I'm just making sure. See, now it's when I'm working here.
Shh. Calm down.
So all this area needs to go darker, but I'm not gonna work on darkening all of it on camera, just around. And I'll have to blend out. So let's erase. Do I have enough information? I think so. And then we will go back and adjust. We're starting to see it. We don't need it to be. Actually, I'm going to bump down to 1 because I'm adjusting the circles. Touch down in a dark area. And I know this all needs to go darker, so I'm not worried about it. This is our lightest one. So now I'm going over the area that had the graphite to get rid of that halo.
You guys.
Pushing it back.
It's high.
Shape this a little better. So where it overlaps, that's going to be the lightest.
Why are you chewing on my arm?
You always choose on your arm. But we can definitely see that the background right here, all of the background up until this point needs to go darker. In fact, for the rest of the background, it will probably be closer to this tone. Sorry, brain disengaged mouth.
Oh.
Oh.
Were you getting in the zone?
Yeah, it just, here you go. It just disengaged. It went, and I'm done. So the hair does have a gap here, so we need to put in that circle behind the hair.
Okay, stop the licking.
We also have to remember these lighter burns. We're going to kind of lose them when we varnish. So actually, I am going to have to go darker. So that I can keep.
Let us stop. Guys, why are we all trying to be in the same space?
Because that's what we do.
I know.
So we have to go back and forth, back and forth. I highly recommend just working one area first before. And because I know I've said in the past that I don't work one area until it's done. At least. Shh. No, we're not talking right now. Well, I am, but you're not. I lost it. The train ran away without me. Give me a second. I was talking about the varnish.
Roxy. Leave her alone.
That train?
Left the station, huh?
It left the station. It has derailed.
Oh, we got 6 minutes left till we are up on an hour.
I was about 6 minutes late.
That's
Oh.
Shh.
This is not playtime. Hello. What was I talking about?
I don't know.
I was talking about the wood darkening. Why are we chewing my hand and licking at the same time?
There.
Very confusing.
Oh, Cynthia Burley is here.
Hey, Cynthia.
Hi, watching when I can.
Yeah, she is at work. Why are you eating my hand?
Because she's being impatient, Mom.
So we know when I varnish or when we varnish, the wood darkens just a hint, regardless of what varnish we're using. The workable fixative helps, actually it can help quite a lot, on not darkening too much, but we do know right here we would actually lose the burn. And so if you think your burn is disappearing, it's not disappearing. The wood is darkening because it has become wet, and that's what wood does. It's porous and it becomes darker. And so when that happens, the burning is still there, but the wood has gone to the same tonal value as the burning, so it looks like your burning has disappeared. It has not disappeared. It is there. So in order to fight that, say I think about here, that tonal value is about where I need to be for the background. But what I can do is quickly show the wood darkening. See, by this, I've actually, based on what line I've accented, I made that circle be the front circle. Because instead of defining this line, I inadvertently defined that line. So I can actually darken and again, this is where it can get a little confusing, but to be honest, if it looks good, don't worry about it. Maybe that should be my catchphrase. If it looks good, don't worry about it.
Here you go.
So just back and forth. It does take a little bit longer because we're having to use part of our brain to figure things out. But you can do it. I was just looking to see. I'm going to very quickly use my denatured alcohol. I have it over on... No!
Shush.
No!
Come on.
Oh, I am so sorry about your ears.
Got our ears, too.
Oh, I've decided March is when we're supposed to be doing World Pyrography Month, but I also am going to have to take a week off of YouTube because I want to redo my studio. And I want to paint the wall. Shh. So I'm trying very quickly just to get some denatured alcohol. I'm actually going to let it evaporate a little bit on the paper towel. If you're sensitive to, actually, even if you're not sensitive to chemicals, denatured alcohol is harsh. So I do what I say, not what I do. Gloves and a mask. Alright, so I'm letting it. I do have some graphite still on the board, so we're going to quickly, it's on her sleeve. And what the denatured alcohol is doing is, so I'm erasing. Regardless of what eraser you use, it leaves gunk. It leaves gunk, especially because we're using a white plastic eraser.
One of us knows, so next week you're taking off to paint your wall?
No. This is going to have to be in March because I have to finish getting ready for the Desert Wood Carving Show. See, that just darkened. So we can see, and I'm only going to do this small area, how a bit more of how much the wood's going to darken. It's not exact, but I definitely need the background to be at least that in order to not lose. See where it's lighter here? We can see the difference. It's okay if we lose some of the burning, or not lose, that's the wrong term. It's okay if some of the light burning is not as obvious because we are doing circles. Let's see what it looks like down here on the dark. Didn't do too much. Let's look down here. I have to be careful because I do still have graphite and I don't want to erase it. A little bit of carbon came off, but this because I burned darker. It's not going to go as dark as where I've wiped down, but you can see right here. Here, this will be more obvious. We'll turn the board. I've let a lot of it has dried. But see, when the board gets wet, it darkens. I'm just trying to find a wetter spot so that it stands out more.
No, you can see it.
So I'll do a smaller. So we see it darkens when the wood gets wet. The workable fixative helps it from going as dark. So if you're brushing on varnish directly onto the wood and it's darkening a lot, the wood itself, this is why. Because the wood has gotten wet and it darkens. It's just how wood reacts. So the denatured alcohol not only cleans the wood so it burns better by getting the eraser gunk off. Film. It's a film. Taking the eraser film off, helping to remove graphite, does not work well on carbon because once you burn next to a carbon line, the wax inside melts. The wax in the line melts and it's stuck on your board. Denatured alcohol is not going to get it off. So it removes any remnants of graphite, and it also allows you to darken your lights because of what we discussed before. With the wood getting wet, it looks like your burning went away, but it didn't. They're just equal to one another in tone. Alright, so next week, fingers crossed, in theory, I want to have the whole board burned and we work on, final details. That is my goal. Whether that goal occurs is a different story.
I believe in you.
Let's back it out. So look at that. I am liking that background. I will do this background more. And you don't have to save this background for just people. You can do it with animals. You can do it with whatever you want to do it with. I would say don't let it be busy. Meaning you don't want these circles to be highly detailed because then you lose the effect. They need to be blurry. And it works.
Yep.
I like it. I can't wait to get the rest of the board in. Again, there's areas over here where I inadvertently created a circle. I'll darken in between these areas and leave those really dark. It works, but I need to do that over here too to balance it out. But the dark areas do need to go at least that dark in order for this to work. But you can see areas that have lightened and darkened based on what is next to it. That is how contrast works. And contrast is awesome. It makes it pop. That arm pops. I don't have a photo of before I started putting I don't have one on the PC before I started doing the background so we could see the difference. I'll make a post about that once the background is in. So I will have a photo of the blocking in, obviously minus the hand because it's not in that photo, with no background versus this the way it is right now with background. So we can see how it can actually lighten our workload when we're going back to our subject.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. We got any more questions? I know, you're such a sweet baby.
I don't see any.
Alright. So, if we don't have any further questions, next week, final details, fingers crossed. That's where I want to be. Say it with me. You're awesome. You can do this. Why? Because you're a pyro artist. Happy burning, guys. Bye. Lunchtime. Food.